Haven't seen you since December. Obviously, I know it was a disappointing loss for you, but kind of what have you been up to since then, and what are your thoughts as you look back on that fight and think about it? Just a mistake, frustration? What was it like for you?
You know, I think I kind of lost myself for a little while, and I've not been fighting my way, not been training the way I usually have been. And I think it took some time away in that loss to kind of get back to me and find myself and get back to who I am. You know, pressures with career and family and everything, it gets to you sometimes. I'm human like everybody else, but I feel like I'm in a really good place right now. I've actually found a lot of strength in trying to not unionize, but associate the fighters and bring the fighters together. You know, I kind of felt like lost and alone for a little while, but now I'm reaching out and speaking with a lot of other fighters, hearing about what they've been going through, and just talking about what kind of power we can have when we come together. And I find a lot of strength in that. And I'm using that towards my own personal accomplishments and progress in becoming a better fighter and getting back to myself and getting back to my ways and doing things my way.
So can you talk a little bit about your motivation? Because I think in the beginning, when people saw you taking that stand, they thought, oh, here's a guy that's got sour grapes or whatever. He's trying to get back at the man, so to speak. But in really following how much you're involved, and not just that, but I mean, it really does seem like you have some honestly good intentions and really want to see some positive change in the sport.
Yeah, I mean, this sport it's my industry, so that's why I'm really taking a head front in this industry. But I've been involved in social politics and history for a long time, and you know, there's a major problem today worldwide with the way labor is being treated, and whether people want to agree with it or not, you know, athletes are labor. We're labor. We provide a service that people make money off of. You know, we entertain people, and it generates revenue, and you know, we're a form of labor, and all labor has been attacked, and it's been attacked heavily by the people in power, the corporations and the big money across the board worldwide. You look at the pay gaps today versus what they used to be. I mean, there's larger pay gaps today between, you know, like the Walmart heirs and their laborers and their workers versus the pharaohs and the slaves in Egypt, right? And if you really look into it, those slaves in Egypt actually had health care and housing. You know, they didn't have homeless people back then. They may got whipped and murdered for not doing the right job at the right time, right? But you know, it's disgusting the way that labor is being treated in not just the world, but America especially. We're supposed to be leading the way in how things are done. And, you know, people are struggling financially. People are dealing with some major mental health care issues. These are things that there's money there. It's not like the money doesn't exist. It's just being funneled into the 1% of the 1%. And that needs to change. And if I have to start that fight with focusing on my industry, which is MMA, then I'll do that. But this is not just a selfish thing for me to make more money. This is for everybody. And one of the big things that I learned listening to the NFL Players Association people talk is that, you know, the people who lead their industry and pushing for labor equality are usually the ones who are ostracized and take the most heavy losses. So for people to think that this is something I'm doing for me, they're crazy, because I'm going to probably suffer more from sticking my head out and speaking up for others than if I just sat back and played ball. You know, I could have kept my mouth shut, played ball, won a couple fights, and gotten back into Zuffa. But that wasn't what I wanted. You know, I'm not going to get table scraps and be happy. I'll fight till my death to support fighters and their cases and their causes. I'll fight for Jon Jones. I'll fight for Nick Diaz. I'll fight for those guys because they're fighters, and I'm closer to them in my life than I am with most other people. And no one else is going to stick up for fighters, so I'll put myself out there to do it.
I know we could talk about it for a long time as far as breaking it down legally, but help me understand a little bit in layman's terms the difference between an association and a union, because I know that gets confused a lot. And why is it that you think an association could happen, and what's the benefit of that versus a union?
Oh yeah, so a union is something that happens within one company's like umbrella. So like if you wanted to start a union under Zuffa and the UFC, that would have to be only that. But we're a huge industry. We have to cross the lines of everything. Unions are also non-profits. They're non-profit organizations where the labor has to pay into the union to support it. That's not what we're doing. We're starting a for-profit association, just like the NFL, NHL. The most closely things that resemble us would be actually the Major League Baseball and the Screen Actors Guild, SAG, right? These are for-profit organizations. Like, we would raise money by doing seminars, appearances, merchandising is the big one. Every year the NFL players are waiting for that Madden check. It's a big check for them, you know. They wait to make big payments and make big buys once they get that check. That's something that we should have. If we come together as fighters in an association, we have bargaining powers together. Things like the Reebok deal wouldn't happen. Reebok would have to come to the association in order to sponsor the fighters. They could go to the organizations and sponsor the organization independently, but if you're going to put a label or a logo on a fighter, you're going to have to come to, if it's more than one, or I think it's something like if you'd have like more than 2 or 3 fighters, you'd have to come to the whole group. If you just wanted 1 or 2 fighters, you could go to those guys individually and make the deal. So we're not going to undercut guys like Conor McGregor. If he would cut a big deal on his own, he could do that. We're not going to touch it. But if they want all of the fighters for all of their fights, you're going to have to come to all the fighters and negotiate.
It's interesting. What's the reality of getting that to work, and what's been the buy-in? I know that people are hesitant to go on record for obvious reasons, but behind the scenes, what are you hearing? What kind of movement are you getting?
It's good. It's good. Right now, though, you know, we're not going to be real public about what we're doing. We're educating guys with the MMAFA.tv website. You know, fighters can go there, sign up for the newsletter, get information about what's going on, what the movement's about, who's involved, that type of stuff. They can find out when the meetings are, and they can show up to the meetings. But right now we're talking fighter to fighter, getting support and educating. And things are looking good. It's going to be a slow process, but it's doable. This is something that we can make materialize.